Hello, good morning. I hope that you're all well and that you've had a good week. I've had an absolutely crazy week because of the changes to the rules and regulations about shipping to the US. And for US needle workers, I do have some important news. Since my Flosstube last week, there have been two major changes to all of that as systems are being put in place by Royal Mail and USPS, but I will come to that a little bit later in the video. The most exciting news of the week for me personally was that our certification came through on Monday afternoon so that we can start selling our fabric to needle workers who live in the EU. At the beginning of the year, the EU brought out some new regulations which were called the General Product Safety Regulations, GPSR, and it meant that anybody selling something from outside of the EU to EU residents, you had to be certificated and have a European representative. That was relatively easy for our books, but over the last few weeks, my husband has been working very hard to get our fabric certificated. And although they write to you in English, it's not necessarily sort of phrased in the way that we are used to. And it's been quite difficult ploughing through copious volumes of paperwork. But my husband's done a very good job. We thought it would take about another 3 or 4 weeks, going by how long the correspondence has been, the time it takes for responses. But he submitted it late Sunday afternoon, and lo and behold, on Monday afternoon, he opened an email and there was our certificate. So for European needleworkers, our fabric is now available to you. I know that this year that you have missed out on various different offerings we've had, but we have made all those offerings re-available, and not just for residents of the EU. If you live outside of the EU and you missed out on those items, they are available on our website now. I'm so pleased that came out. One of the founding principles of Hands Across the Sea, that's why we gave it the name. We are all hands working together around the world across the sea, was that hats was going to be inclusive, not exclusive, and available for all. And that's one of the reasons why we have a flat rate shipping fee, no matter the size of your order and no matter where you live in the world. And we subsidise that very heavily. But we want it to be inclusive. Anyway, on the 20th of August, I was meant to release 2 samplers for general sale. But because this week has been so manic, getting all our US customers' orders out before the 29th, or before, so that they reached US customs by midnight on the 28th. I had to put that to one side. It had to be my priority, making sure that our customers were taken care of. So on the 20th, we didn't release the 2 samplers that we had intended to. Now, some of you have already had these samplers. These samplers were available for Friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers for the month of August through our Facebook group. And the reason why is that these samplers, or this sampler, and this is beautiful, look at this, is going to be the 2026 stitch along for Friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers. So for the month of August, we had a very, very special offer for Friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers. If you're not a friend of hats, please go along to Facebook and look for the Facebook group Friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers. I will put a link to that group in the description of this video. Everybody is welcome to join. It's a really great group. There's a lot of posts and comments. There's lots of interaction in that group, and there are lots of free projects for friends to enjoy. Sort of every now and again, well, quite often actually, I release something free as a thank you to the Friends of Hats. So this sampler is going to be our 2026 Stitch Along. And the Stitch Along is going to be led by Judy Hall, who is an amazing Stitch Along leader. Judy is there to help and to encourage and to inspire you to stitch the sampler. There will be giveaways throughout 2026 for those participating in the Stitch Along, and at the end of 2026 there is a draw for an antique sampler. Everybody who's finished their sampler will go into the draw, and one lucky person will be receiving an antique sampler. So what is the offer for Friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers? Well, Maria didn't just stitch one sampler, she stitched a second sampler as well. She stitched a primer. And the primer is so pretty. The colours on this. This is a beautiful green, not a black. I'm not sure how the colours are capturing on the camera, but it's a beautiful, beautiful green, and this sort of claret almost. The two colours together are absolutely stunning. Friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers buy in the main booklet for Maria, for the big sampler, receive the booklet for the smaller sampler completely free of charge for orders placed during the month of August. If you are a friend and you haven't bought it, there's still time. If you're not a friend, apply to join. Everybody is welcome. Now these two samplers are available as printed booklets or as a PDF bundle to download. And whether you buy the printed booklets or the PDF, you will only pay for the price of the main sampler. So the main sampler is priced at £26 as a printed booklet. The printed booklet for this one is priced at £24, a total of £50, but you only pay £26. If you're buying the PDF bundle for both of them, it's just £20. It's a little thank you from us to all of our wonderful customers and to needleworkers around the world who consider themselves to be friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers. We also have this fabric to make this project bag. Oops. Here we go. This is the fabric to make the project bag. And I have a project bag made up. And it says, beautiful things come together one stitch at a time. But if you don't want that in your project bag, there is an additional panel in the main fabric for the top. The fabric is William Morris inspired, and we chose this particular pattern because it reflects the birds in the sampler. So there we go. The greens, or in fact all the colours in the main fabric are taken from the actual colours in the sampler, and the binding colours are also taken from the colours in the sampler. The lining is beautiful. There we go. And we chose houses because Maria's father was a master builder. He built on a big scale. So their wealth, and they were very wealthy, derived from the building of houses in London. There are many, many streets in London where Maria's father built the whole lot. They lived in Bloomfield Terrace, which is just off Sloane Square in Belgravia, London, a very, very posh part of London. And And it's an area of London, Sloane Square, that Princess Diana was associated with. It's where she used to like to hang out before she married Prince Charles, and where she used to be seen buzzing around, going in and out of the very posh shops in London. We know exactly the house that Maria stitched this sampler in, and when she married, her parents gave her another house in that row. So we know the two houses that these two samplers hung in. We know a lot about Maria, and it's all in her booklets. So this is the main booklet, and this is the booklet for the primer. The verse on the primer is, "How can I most my gratitude declare? How speak my thanks for all my parents' care? I'll work while young, and when growing up, will be as kind to them as they have been to me." And we know that Maria was very close to her parents for the whole of their lives. My friend Sue, when she saw this, she said, "I will stitch this and I will record my parents' name in this section here." And I think that's a wonderful idea, that if you stitch this sampler, you include a dedication to your parents. We all have a lot to thank parents for. We are who we are today because of our parents. I wouldn't be the person I am without the love and support, particularly of my father. The verse on the main sampler is, "Never let us yield to passion, never render ill for ill, ever let us live in kindness and obey our Saviour's will." That's a nice verse. It's a beautiful, beautiful sampler. And I hope that you will join us in the stitch along. It promises to be a very good one. I hope to get supplies out to our distributors in the week ahead. It's been a problem keeping up with the charts for Maria. We've now actually gone through our 3rd print run, and I am waiting for our 4th print run to arrive in the week ahead, which will enable me to ship the necessary numbers to Hoffman's and to Yarntree in the States. But you can get these through Friends of Hands Across the Sea samplers. When you become a member, you just go to the featured post, and there is a link which enables you to access the booklets. Now, if you're going to stitch Maria, the main sampler, where's it gone? I've lost something. It was here. Oh, here it is. There is a problem with one of the colours. So when you read the thread legend, don't think it's a typo. It is correct, and it's colour 236. This colour is currently inactive in the States, but Access Commodities has been working very, very hard with Auvera Soir in Paris to have this colour restocked. Access Commodities, they're a wonderful company. They really support needleworkers with, getting the supply of these 103 silks. 103 silks, they are so popular. It's my favourite thread to work for. The demand for these silks, it's hard to keep up the supplies, and I know that Access Commodities work extremely hard to get sufficient quantities of all this beautiful silk in stock available for America. You will be able to secure this well before the stitch along starts on January the 1st. One of the problems is that Auvera Soir Paris, they close for the whole month of August, but it is being dyed in September, and Access Commodities are going to move heaven and earth to get that available for you. Okay, so, right. US Customs, oh my God, it's been a rolling ball all week. If you ring Royal Mail, you will queue in a call system for hours. Literally one day this week, I phoned on my mobile, I put it on loudspeaker, and it was probably about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes before they answered. And I just carried on working, packing, whilst that was, I was trying to get through. And then you get through and they say, we don't know. We learnt at the beginning of the week that USPS were not going to accept imports from other countries unless the duty had been prepaid in the country it was being exported from or imported from. So that changed the whole system. Overnight, or yesterday I should say, so this became available to me overnight, and this is not from the Royal Mail's website. There is very little information on the Royal Mail's website. It's from the British Broadcasting Company, the BBC, and it's their news. And BBC News is normally very, very reliable. They are the UK's, it is a public news service for the UK, funded by the government. It says postal services around the world are pausing some deliveries to the US over the confusion around new import taxes that must be paid on parcels from the end of the month. Postal services, including Royal Mail and Germany's DHL, said they would suspend deliveries until they had proper systems in place to deal with the new rules. Royal Mail said it was withdrawing its current US export services for businesses from Tuesday, but added it hoped to have a new system up and running within 2 days to allow it to comply with the new rules before they kick in. And the Royal Mail are quoted in this article as saying, "We have been working hard with US authorities and international partners to adapt our services to meet the new US de minimis requirements so UK consumers and businesses can continue to use our services when they come into effect." So that is the current situation. So what are HATS doing? HATS are doing everything they possibly can to ensure that our US customers are not being inconvenienced. I did say in my last Flosstube that Saturday was my last shipping date because I was very concerned, not so much about the chart orders, the booklets, because I do strongly believe that they will not attract tariffs. On the US Customs and Borders official website, when you go into the tariff section, if you look at bound books, and I'm not on about loose leaf charts, I'm on about bound books, those still show as 0 rated for tariffs. So I'm not concerned about those. But for fabric, obviously for items hitting US Customs after midnight on the 28th, you will be charged 10%, and we don't want that flat fee coming into play. So what I had done since I got back from the States and was dealing with this problem for US customers, every day I sent 3 items tracked so that I could follow their progress. Well, the items that I shipped on Saturday, the ones I were tracking, were in US Customs by the Monday. So I realised that I could carry on shipping because obviously Royal Mail were making a huge effort to get items through quickly. So on Monday I sent orders out. 3 of them were tracked. All 3 of those are actually today in US Customs, so they've beaten the de minimis going. The same for items on Tuesday and for Wednesday. The items I shipped on Thursday, which is my absolute last day for shipping to the US via the postal services, those items they shipped on Thursday. They were in the Heathrow International Distribution Centre by Friday afternoon, and that is some going. And they have been handed over to Royal Mail's delivery partner. Now, that doesn't mean they're in US Customs, but I would be very surprised if they are not in US Customs by Monday. Apparently, if anything hits US Customs after midnight on the 28th, it will just be returned to the point of origin. Now, people with fabric orders, I shipped what fabric I had up until Thursday. I did ship fabric out on Friday, but that was shipped via UPS, the couriers, not USPS. It was shipped by UPS and it's already left the country. I checked on that this morning, and I would imagine that throughout today or tomorrow, those will be actually in the customs department of UPS. So those are fine. Going forward, this week, I will be shipping boxes of fabric to our US distributor, and I will be covering the tariffs on that myself personally, and then that fabric will be shipped to US customers from within the US, so they do not have to worry about tariffs. I would have paid the tariffs as they entered the country. Now, this comes down to books. By Thursday, I actually sent out the last of the 3rd print run. So until the 4th print run arrives, which will probably be Tuesday now, because Monday in this country is a national holiday, I won't be shipping any more booklets. On Tuesday, when those booklets come through, I will be shipping them straight out to all countries bar the US. What I want to do for the US is to send 3 tracked test booklet packages to friends of mine to make sure that, 1, they go through US Customs without any tariffs being applied, that the 0 rated tariff still applies for books. On the website, it still shows 0 tariffs, but who knows if that changes. If those go through successfully, then I will ship out everybody's outstanding order. And if they don't, we will go to plan B, and that will be shipping them to a distributor for them to ship from within the US. But also, the one other thing I want to do is wait and see what this new system is from Royal Mail. And as soon as I know, I will update you via my weekly Flosstube. But I want you to rest assured that everybody in the US is very, very important to me, and I will move heaven and earth so that you will not go without your items. I promise you that. Okay, right, I haven't done any stitching. I have literally, in the last week, I have shipped out just over 1,800 orders, and some of those orders were for multiple items. It's been a crazy week. I have to thank our fabric printers. They have been wonderful. They have made sure that every order we have put in has been turned around on an express service, and without them I could not have met those orders. They were absolutely fabulous. I also need to thank our printers who did an extra rush job for us during the week, and for doing this other rush job. So we have our 4th print run on Tuesday. They have been amazing. When I deal with people, when I deal with a company, I like to be loyal to that company, and I like to build up a relationship. I like to get to know the people I'm dealing with on the phone and build up a good relationship. And I'm so grateful to those people that they heard my call for help, and all those companies stepped in to help me. Also, I have to say a big thank you to a friend who on Wednesday came in and helped me cut fabric. By the time Wednesday came, I was on my knees, but she came in and she worked alongside me all day cutting fabric, and that gave me enough supplies to ensure that practically all the fabric orders shipped on by Thursday. There are just a few orders for fabric that that are slightly complicated, so they haven't shipped, but they will be shipping to my distributor next week. Okay, I'm starting to ramble. I hope that next week I will be back with some stitching. I have one more important thing to announce, and really I should have announced that at the beginning of the video. This Wednesday, August the 27th at 12 noon Eastern Time, Hobby House Needlework are opening registration to the general public for Kathleen Littleton of Cross Stitch Antiques, Ray Niles of Red Barn Samplers, and Nicola Parkman of Hands Across the Sea Samplers hats next workshop for them. The workshop takes place in September of next year. It's called Imagination and Emotion, The Needle Speaks, and it's going to be a fabulous weekend. It's not just a workshop, it's not just a retreat, it is an experience that we put on for attendees. If you get a place, once you've registered and you've got an email confirming your place, please email either me, Kathleen or Ray to say that you have registered, and then we will admit you into a secret Facebook group so that the fun starts now. You've got a 12-month build-up to the retreat. We always do these groups when registration starts because we want you to have more than a weekend. Once registration is opened, we will be uploading into that group a link to your first complimentary project. You don't have to stitch it, but I think when you see this sampler, and if you love flowers, you are going to absolutely adore this sampler, and it's there with our compliments for you to enjoy. And throughout the 12 months leading up to the event, there will be other complimentary projects for you to enjoy. Okay, I hope that you will attend. We have so many special things planned. Imagination and Emotion, The Needle Speaks. It gives us an opening to present many different things, come to needlework in many different ways. And the intention for that weekend is that we connect, we collaborate, and we celebrate needlework. And we want everybody who attends to go home inspired by samplers. Okay, right. Stay well, stay safe. Bye-bye.